Wow, okay.
It's been your boy Jay Blastaway, blasting off to the moon!
What's up, everybody? Just coming out of the theater for a Wild Robot screening. Heard a lot about this, and I wanted to go to the movies today, capitalize on $5 tickets. Animated movie, directed by Chris Sanders, starring Pedro Pascal, I don't know the names, Lupita something, very good actress, stars in Black Panther. She voices Roz. Yeah, man, wow, that was a really good movie. That was a really good animated movie. Spoiler warnings ahead, okay? I'm not gonna do the non-spoiler because I have to talk about it. Wow, okay, so Roz is a robot designed to help with whatever task she gets assigned. But due to a storm or something, she crash lands on this island, and she begins to roam, explore, and communicate with these animals and try to figure out what her task is, right? And then none of the animals understand her. She doesn't understand them, so she begins to analyze and do research and kind of scan the life around them for, I don't even know how long she was. She just put herself in a learning mode, and she scanned and analyzed the language that was being spoke. Then she was able to communicate with the animals. Well, she gets into another accident, and she kills this, she lands on a nest, right? So she kills these birds by accident, by falling on them. And what's left of the damage is a little egg. And then we get introduced to Pedro Pascal, the character that Pedro Pascal voices, which is the fox, because the fox then tries to steal the egg she's looking at. She doesn't know what it is. Fox then begins to steal the egg, and little cat and mouse chase, whatever. Well, she finally protects the egg and gets away from the fox for the egg to then begin to hatch. Well, the egg hatches, whatever, and Brightbird, or Bright Bill, is born. And basically from that point of the movie, it's her figuring out that she has a task, right? Because the bird imprints on the first thing it sees. Well, the first thing it saw was Roz, the robot. So that bird thought that Roz was its mom. So then she talks to another animal, a possum, and finally gets the task from the possum that her task is motherhood. So then the journey from that point on in the film, Roz is navigating being a mother as a robot. So she thinks that all she has to do is make, Bright Bill be able to swim or eat, swim, and fly. And that after that, her task will be complete. Well, as she's doing that, as the journey progresses, you see a robot go against its programming and experience love, learn how to love, learn to be a mom. As Bright Bill grows up, he finds himself finding a group of birds and finding where people that look like him. Well, all of the birds know about him, and they know of his situation, because as he was growing up, Roz was trying to teach him things in front of all the animals on the island, and all the animals on the island looked at Roz as a monster because she's a robot. And they looked at him as an outcast because he was raised by the monster. Well, in getting bullied by some of the other birds, he finds out the truth. That Roz is not his mom, and that Roz killed his mom. And then they get their first, they get into their first argument. And he's like, "You're not my mom." And "Are you sure you even wanted to do this?" And all this. And that's where she starts to understand, the robot, Roz, starts to understand that she loves him. And she talks to another bird and figures out that regardless of how he's feeling, she needs to get him to be able to fly so that he can migrate with the birds, because winter's coming. So they go on a little journey there where she's pushing him to fly. She's getting him, help from another bird that's voiced by the actor in Mission Impossible. Oh, I forget his name. Not the computer guy, but the tech, the weapons expert or something. I can't remember his name. Yeah, but he voices the bird that helps Bright Bill, fly and figure out all that stuff. Well, she puts him through a little test, because after speaking to that bird, she finds out she's only got a week to really hone in on his skills so that he's able to migrate and go on that 1,000 mile trip. So she puts him through all that. He leaves, and she realizes that she loves him a lot. It's very emotional when when he gets done with that little training segment of the movie, and he then finds the bird that he's going to be flying with, his formation, whatever, and he gets ready to go on that journey, and they're saying bye to each other. And mind you, Roz has raised the bird, and they both didn't say "I love you" to each other. Well, as he's already on his way and he flies off, she realizes that she forgot to say something. And she talks to Pedro Pascal's character, the fox. And I don't think I mentioned that, but the fox and Roz ended up being very close. And while Bright Bill was getting raised, the fox, Pedro Pascal's character, was part of the fam, like an uncle, kind of. He began to have affection for Roz and Bright Bill because nobody liked him. None of the other animals liked him on the island. So Bright Bill's on his way, flying on his journey, and back on the island, the animals are now in winter. And she shuts down, to heal or to regenerate power. But she gets woken up, and she gets woken up because the geese that were on that migration journey ran into trouble on their journey because they were going through a storm, and they decided to to take shelter and wait for the storm to pass over. But they end up taking shelter in Roz's world, where the robots are not programmed to love, and they're programmed to, help and be of service. I want to compare some themes to somewhat of WALL-E, because the humans of this world, it's in a utopia set years in the future, like they're during the geese's journey, they're like flying over like the Golden Gate Bridge and some parts of like famous cities that are like engulfed in water. So it's like almost like you don't really know too much of the humans, and that's not a very big part of the story, but like the moments you do see, like you could tell, okay, we took advantage of the resources here on Earth, and this story takes place in a time period where humans are not really, they're more in like futuristic world. So whatever. The geese trying to take shelter from their own storm, and they go down to Roz's world, and the robots there that look like Roz are not friendly, and they try to like eliminate all the birds. Well, somehow Roz in her programming gets like a I don't even know, like a vision or something, and she just wakes up out of her regeneration process and it goes, Bright Bill, because he's in danger. And then she finds that Fink, the fox, was staying in the house that she had built for all of them. And then once she's awake, she gets to talking with Fink and finds out that this is a very bad winter. And the rest of the animals on the island are not doing good. So then she goes on this like rescuing journey, and she rescues all these animals that at the beginning of the film did not like her, still don't. They think of her as like a monster, and they were clowning and bullying her son because they were judging her. So there's a lot of themes there where it's like Roz and Bright Bill were looked at as kind of like outsiders because they're like, oh, the robot, he's a monster, and now he's trying to raise this little geese. They're, you know what I mean? They were just outcasts. So during this winter, she goes and saves all these different animals and puts them in the house she built, and keeps them warm with like a fire in there. Then she goes on to save like the last surviving animal that she didn't rescue. And then all the animals underneath one roof start to like try and eat each other. She finally gets back. You could tell she needs to regenerate. She's losing power. She's tired. She doesn't look in good shape. And Pedro Pascal's Fox, Fink, he delivers a good speech to everybody. Like, hey, while we're in here all trying to kill each other and eat each other, the person you all deemed as a monster sacrificed and saved all of you so that you guys could survive and not die. So then they all understand that, and they all look at each other and they're like, okay. And they decide to sleep it off through the winter together and keep each other warm and whatnot. Well, fast forward, springtime comes around. Bright Bill comes back with the flock, and they're both excited to see one another. He thought she would have left, but she didn't. She stayed for him. But when she goes and sees all the birds and sees that he's now being accepted, like, because he saved all the birds from that world when the robots were going against them, he led all of them to safety and to escape, and his mentor sacrificed his life. Long neck. Sad, emotional part of the movie. When Roz sees that Bright Bill is now being accepted by his own kind, she's like, okay, task is complete. He's finally where he needs to, like, where he belongs. So she calls the company or her creators. She activates her transmitter, which had played a big part of the movie, but it kept getting damaged, and she turned it off because she wanted to help Bright Bill and she wanted to stay to see him come back because she never got to say I love you. Well, when she saw that he was getting accepted, she finally turned it back on, and then her creators come and try to take her away and try to analyze her and try to get her data, whatever. Well, as she's getting raised into the ship, Fink comes and he's like, hey, Bright Bill wants to tell you something. He wants to talk to you. And then she's like, okay. And she gets out of the ship and goes and tries to find Bright Bill. Well, that robot in that ship send off like deadly robots that come and try to like burn down the island and kill all the animals and all this. The animals finally come together for Roz and Bright Bill because of their sacrifice, and then they go and all of them come together to eliminate all these different like lethal robots. After which the animals find out that the ship had been shooting down on the island, and had been, you know, excuse me, the island was on fire. And Roz had gotten taken back by the ship. So at this point, she's in the ship. They're trying to leave the island after they killed the lethal robots down on the ground, and the ship had like shot down and rained fire on them. The animal's like, oh, okay, we beat all the robots, but the island's on fire. So they talk to this beaver, and they try to get this tree down to let a levee of water come and then come over all the fire before the island gets engulfed in flames. Bright Bill takes the flock back up to the ship before they leave, saves Roz. When he goes back up on that ship, they had wiped her memory. She was powered off. They had reset her. They never got that chance to say I love you to each other. Mother and son. Weird case of a robot and a geese having that relationship. They never got to say it to each other. He goes and she's just lifeless. Well, he goes, you know, takes position. When he was a baby, he would cuddle under her neck. Well, he does that again and then finally says I love you, which sparks her heart, which robots aren't supposed to have. And it's supposed to be impossible in the storylines and the parameters of this movie, but once he says I love you to her and like puts his forehead on her, she like comes to life. That motherly love that she has and that she's built with him, and she responds I love you too. Then there's a good moment, and you're finally like, you're as an audience member, you're kind of like happy, you're like rooting, like they finally got that moment. But let's get out of this ship and let's get back to safety before you guys get transported. So that AI system that was on the ship that is in charge of getting Roz back and analyzing her data, she has no emotions, and she's kind of like, she's like what a robot is, no feelings, no emotions, kind of like logic based. Well, they get rid of her, jump out of the ship. Roz puts Bright Bill in her in her, I don't know, compartment, in her chest compartment, and lands and saves them. And lands in the water. The animals, right? They had gotten rid of the fire for Roz, and it had cleared. They finally see her like as like a circle come and come onto land. She opens up, Bright Bill's still alive, and they're like, yay, all happy. But she realizes to protect the island, she needs to go back to where she's from, because they're just going to keep on coming back for her. And the animals at this point, they're past their prejudice and they're past their hatred or confusion for Roz. They love Roz, they love Bright Bill. They're all like a big family because they've all come together to protect their island. And she's like, you know, that's bigger than anything. I know you guys want me to stay, but you guys achieved and gained something far bigger than any one of you. You guys came together as an island. And so it's pretty sad because Think the fox, he comes and he's like, well, what if I get lost? What if I, have nobody to talk to because nobody on the island liked me before you came? Well, all the animals start standing up and they're like, well, you could talk to us. So it's a good moment. Good moment because they all came together. They all were like, it's going to be okay. We're all one. And Bright Bill is like, well, her son is like, well, you're not going to be yourself. They're going to wipe your memory. And she reinformed him and was like, my memory was already wiped. I was powered off. But there's a different part of me that they won't have access to that makes me who I am. So the movie ends with her being in her world and Bright Bill finding her and her getting out of that programming of the assistant and being like, well, you can call me mom. So basically it follows a robot that's trying to look for a task, trying to help whatever species of planet it lands on, and then it grows a heart for an animal and animals that she wasn't even supposed to be able to communicate with. But they all, through struggle, through adversity, through what was going on, through prejudice, through hate, they all put all that to the side and came together as one and like protected one another and went against their programming, which is a big thing. Like went against their programming and what they're meant to do to help one another instead of trying to eat one another. So this is a kid movie, right? It's a PG animated movie, but like, I don't know. It hit. And it was good. It was emotional. I didn't shed a tear or nothing, but you leave that movie feeling good. Love, perseverance, coming together, helping out. These are some themes that this movie addresses. Helping out those that you think are not part of your group, or people you wouldn't necessarily help out, or people that treat you bad. Don't retaliate, but respond with love. And I don't know, I just feel like with the current landscape of just the world, I feel like that's a pretty positive and bright message through a nice animated film. Which is pretty cool also to see like a robot that was programmed to be of use go against her programming to be a mother. Which I'm not a parent of any kind, but there's a scene where she's talking to the possum because Bright Bill's like a little chickling or little baby. And she's like, my programming doesn't call for this. How am I supposed to raise this? It makes everything impossible. And then the possum's like, nobody ever knows. We kind of just make things up. And that's very contradictory to how Roz was built. So for her to go against all that, to go against, her programming and the reason she was built to then evolve into a robot with a heart and with caring emotions and with love was pretty cool. And I understand now why I'd been hearing so much about this movie. It came out September 27th. There have been a lot of moments where I've come to the movie theater and I've been like, well, movies are dead. This one was always in the theaters and was always an option to watch. But it wasn't until today where I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let me just go watch this one. And I'm glad I did. The Wild Robot. Really good movie. Really good animated movie. DreamWorks. It's a DreamWorks picture. I like the animation style. I'm not doing the cast justice, but there's some popular names in there, popular people. And Roz kind of reminds me of BB-8. People in the comments are gonna kill me for this. I'm blanking on Big Hero 6. BB-8. Big Hero 6.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
She kind of reminds me of that. Also with like a mixture of E.T. But it definitely stands alone. I wouldn't say it's like an adaptation of either one of those. There's just like similarities between like the way the robot looks and like what has kind of happened with the humans with E.T. The humans aren't fat, but they're so into the future that all of our like a few of our land or like our few of our landmarks were kind of like in travesty or like not preserved. So yeah, it was cool. I liked it a lot. I'm surprised by that movie, let's just say that. Definitely recommend, and I was not disappointed. Again, movies are cheaper on Tuesdays. Ticket was only like $4.50, so $4.50 well spent. So yeah, I think, again, if you're looking for any movies to watch and that one's still out, I recommend it. It's got the Jay Blastaway stamp of approval. I don't want to do ratings. I don't want my videos to like have a rating system. I kind of just want to explain how I feel about them, how they made me feel, like overview, and give you like, say at the end, we'll this could change, this could evolve. Also, I'm open to any suggestions, but feel like I should just give it like a stamp of approval or something like that. Like, oh yeah, this movie was Jay Blastaway approved, or nah, I didn't feel like it. I don't recommend it. But this one definitely. The Wild Robot. Really good. Really good movie. But that's all for today. I literally told Charlie Clawfield, my editor, shout out to him, he's been editing these videos. I told him, and my dad, who I've been talking to about these videos, I told them literally like I was going to try to do it more condensed and not as long. But I feel like with this one, especially trying a new thing with not being spoiler free, just going ahead and just diving into the spoilers, giving you guys like a little overview, I think I liked the way this turned out. Again, I'm open to any suggestions, chat, or NASA. I want to continue to do these type of videos when it comes to movies. I'm very passionate about this. If you guys got any movies that you recommend, they don't even need to be coming out in the movie theaters, but maybe movies you think I haven't watched that you would like to see a video like this, drop them down in the comments. If you want to see me react to a movie or do one of these, like I said, drop them down in the comments. If you have any pointers, any suggestions, I want this to be collaborative. I want this to be an environment, like a one-on-one, right? I'm talking to y'all. I want to build an audience. I want to build a community of passionate cinema lovers, of people who like film, of film movie watchers. So whether it be going through a director's catalog, whether it be dropping reviews on movies I've already seen, if you guys just like my opinion on things and you guys want to see, it doesn't matter. Just if you feel called to want to see me react, give my opinions on any movies that I have or haven't watched, just drop them down in the comments. We'll see what we can do. We'll do it. And if there's any movies that are slated to come out that you want me to react to and do one of these videos too, drop them down in the comments. But if you haven't already, like, share, comment, subscribe, join NASA. This has been your boy Jay Blastaway, the Wild Robot, coming out of the Wild Robot. It's got Jay Blastaway's stamp of approval, and that's gonna do it. Jay Blastaway, and I'm blasting off. Peace to the moon.
God damn.